You're watching Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
It was the best of times and it was the worst of times. Welcome into a little impromptu edition of Oilers Nation every day. Man, the sun came up this morning. Kind of wish it didn't. Tough one. I said last night, I think waking up this morning is, last night you're caught up, at least from my perspective, and sort of the hoopla of it all and being at the rink, and you're in the moment a little bit. Maybe if you were watching at home or back in Edmonton or out at Greta, you had a couple of brewskis, a couple of wobbly pops, and maybe last night you were a little numb. Reality set in a little bit this morning. Anyways, welcome into the show. I know it is 8 a.m. Mountain Time. Liam and AB and those guys are going to do like the full ON every day. Frank, the whole shebang at your normal time later on today. But I got 30 minutes till I got to start driving to the airport here in Fort Lauderdale. So I figured, why not hop on and talk to you guys for a little bit here. I'm sure a lot of you are just sort of waking up right now, and maybe you want to vent. So vent away in the YouTube chat. This is probably only going to go for like 15-20 minutes here, because again, I do have to go to the airport right away, but I wanted to hop on for a little bit. And as Lane says here, I wanted to see how you're all feeling. Yeah, it's interesting. John might need a rum and coke this morning, to be honest. Yeah. I wouldn't blame you at all. Brad is in. I've had an entire night shift to stew on this game. I'm sad, but I'm not disappointed. The guys left everything on the ice and absolutely deserved a better outcome. Hope will never die. I love this team. Bashan is in and says, great. Now I'm sad again. Yeah, listen, this one's going to hurt for a really, really long time. And again, last night, maybe a little bit of perspective was lost, and I don't know if it's just me. Like, I was nervous as hell for that hockey game. I was an absolute mess at the arena, and it took until maybe though my walk home to just again let it really sit in that like you can't get any closer than that. And like that can, and there'll come a point probably at some point where that flips into a positive in my brain, and maybe it's flipped into a positive for you guys, or for some of you already. Maybe it's flipped into a positive, but like losing by 1 goal in game 7 in a game where Connor misses an open net, Hyman misses an open net, Mad scrambles, like just, I mean, look at the Panthers winner. Go back to the first, Evan Bouchard hits the post. Look at the winner. Dylan Holloway, the shot like hits him and just trickles wide of the net. Like, again, you can't really get you just simply can't get any closer than that. And it sucks. But it's a fan base. We've been through this before. Conrad is in on the Facebook. Stings more than 06. Florida found a way to bottle us up. They seized their opportunity and they deserved it. Yeah, they totally did. Like, again, you didn't lose to some 8 seed who miraculously got there and whatever. Like, you lost to a really damn good hockey team. That happens. You lost in 7 games. It sucks. It sucks. And it's, newsflash, it's really, really hard to win. It's hard to get to the point the Oilers got to. You need to play really damn good hockey for basically 2 straight months. You need to have a lot of things go your way, which the Oilers did. You need lucky bounces and a bunch of things along the way. Like, I mean, this run almost ended against the Vancouver Canucks in round 2. JT Miller gets a chance in the slot that's probably going in if it doesn't hit Nikita Zadorov, right? You need luck along the way. The Oilers have a game 6 against Dallas where they don't play well, and Stuart Skinner has, looking back at it now, you could say the game of his life. You need a lot of things to go your way, right? The Oilers had that players step up. It was the year of the janitor. Matthias Janmark turns into an unstoppable force in the Stanley Cup final. Big reason why they were able to even drag it to 7. This was a really good example of how hard it is to get back there. And it's not a guarantee. And I know, again, if you want to compare it to 06, like I don't know what it was like in the aftermath of 06. I was too young. I don't remember. there should be more hope around this team, and I would think that's obvious. Connor isn't going anywhere. Leon, I am telling you, if you've ever wanted to trust anything I can say, Leon is not going anywhere. And I said, and this isn't me, whatever. I said it from the beginning in a sick, twisted way. Them losing this Stanley Cup final makes it more of a lock that Leon's coming back because they have unfinished business now. And it's not impossible to get back there. Florida got back there. Again, really good team. They were so close, man. And you're a bounce away from that night last night being one that is unforgettable in the best of ways. And now it's a little bit of the opposite. I'll get to a few more comments here as we work our way through this. Michael is in more positives than negatives this season. Still hurts, but what an effing ride. ML, the boys are back to the Stanley Cup final next year. The disappointment's going to be few. I really think it will be. I think next year we're going to see a Connor McDavid like we've honestly never seen a Connor McDavid. JT will win the cup next year. Corey, Connor and Leon will be even more dominant. They found 3 new levels of defensive prowess. Daryl, 06, there were no expectations. Yeah, but I think if we're comparing them right now, we're comparing the pain after the loss, not so much the run itself. Because you're right, like I mean, beating Detroit in 06 was a massive accomplishment. It was beating the Kings this year. I mean, that's not an accomplishment. This season's a success. No one's going to tell you it's not. Much like in 06, the season was a success, right? And there'll come a point where maybe it's a year, 2, 5 years, however long you need. And I'm sure people will do the same thing I do. Night they won game 6, I laid in bed and pulled up on YouTube the compilation that was every goal from 2006 and rewatched them. We're going to get to a point where we do that and we're going to love this run. And a lot of you are probably recognizing that now. It just sucks. A couple comments in there about Mattkachuk. Here's what I will say about Mattkachuk. He is an excellent heel. Every story needs a villain. Mattkachuk likes being that guy. I don't understand Flames fans' love for him. It's very confusing. Like Flames fans last night were acting like they've won the Stanley Cup because Mattkachuk and to an extent Sam Bennett did. Mattkachuk said he didn't want to be in Calgary. Like he said if I'm speaking to Flames fans right now, he said he didn't like you. He could have been a Flame his entire career if he wanted to, and the team still had a core. They could have been good. He could have stuck around. He literally said he does not like being in Calgary or being a Calgary Flame, and he chose Florida over you. Why are you celebrating this guy? I'm trying to think of an example here, but if Leon after his ELC or after, a couple years out of his ELC went to the Oilers and said, "I hate it here. Can you guys send me somewhere warm? I'm done being an Oiler." I would never want him. I would be booing the hell out of him when I watch. Daryl Sutter says it's a strange angle for Flames fans to take. Whatever, cope because they're happy the Oilers lost, I guess. But why I really cannot understand why they love Mattkachuk as much as they do. Again, he said he doesn't want to be a Flame. He forced his way out. He more or less asked for a trade. Like super weird. Super, super weird. Yeah, John, this is a great example. It would be like Pronger saying he won the cup for us in 07. And was anybody watching Pronger lift the Stanley Cup with the Ducks being like, hell yeah, there you go, Chris, you got one for us? No, that was like the dumbest shit ever. Everyone hated it. So whatever. Okay, Randy. I mean, why give a voice to the haters? And I think it's something Oilers fans want to hear is a little bit of what the hell are Flames fans thinking. But Lane is in. I'm sad, but I had such a great time this run. I got my first Stanley Cup Finals patch put on my new jersey to remember this amazing season and the run we went on. What a ride. What a ride indeed. ML, we hated Pronger until like 6 months ago, until he started coming on this show, right? Brad Bay, Flames fans will always be the worst. Vancouver, LA up there quickly. Stealth is in. Much love, Oilers Nation. Yeah. The run was unbelievable, guys. Like We got everything, almost everything we could have wanted out of it. So, McDoust, I like the take, Tyler. Thank you. We got almost everything we wanted out of this. We got game sevens. We got to win the West on home ice this time around. Like, I'll never forget that night winning game 6 and the vibes in the city after they won game 6. Like, unforgettable stuff. And, as I do all that and I start to look back, it just immediately clicks back to like, you win one more game and it's the most legendary spring and summer of all of our lives. And you lose that game by 1 goal and it sucks. I'm not going to really get into like why they lost last night or anything like that. Again, as it says on the screen here, this is more of just a therapy session for me. I don't even I'm literally the only one here. I don't have Aaron or whatever. I just threw together some graphics in 3 minutes and popped them up on the screen because I wanted to talk to you guys. But yeah, it sucks. Ryan Smith is in. Players are just getting into their primes. Like, we can only go up from here. It hurts, but this season has been unforgettable. And, I wrote about this last night over at Oilers Nation. There are a lot of positives to pull from this, from like a pure hockey perspective. Stuart Skinner and his bounce back. He is one of the best contracts in the NHL. 2 more years, $2.6 million. That full stop. That is a massive advantage the Oilers have going forward. And that the pain that's going to come from an eventual Jack Campbell buyout, different type of pain, more of like an annoying migraine type pain that'll come from looking at Puckpedia, I guess, and seeing the buyout number for the next 6 years of our lives. That's going to be annoying. But Stuart Skinner for the next 2 years at $2.6 million is unbelievable. Leon Draisaitl's probably going to sign an extension this summer. Great. Unbelievable stuff. Philip Broberg, bona fide he was their Ekholm Bouchard would good. Broberg was without a doubt their third best defenseman last night, and you could almost argue he was their second best defenseman last night. He is top 4 next season, full stop, all year, 18 plus minutes a night, every single game. Like, massive. Dylan Holloway had an up and down playoffs, but the ups were so up that you're sitting there going, bona fide top 9 guy next year. If you set the line at 15.5, I honestly think I'm taking the over. I am that high on Dylan Holloway because of how good he looked at the end of the regular season and into the playoffs here. So you got an emergence from Holloway. You got an emergence from Broberg. You have Stuart Skinner. I think, again, the beginning of the playoffs, the struggles were whatever. But I can now look at 2.5 rounds where he was lights out. What was he, 11-1 or 10-1 in games 4 through 7? Legitimate number 1 goalie signed for 2 more years at under $3 million. Perfect. Broberg, get him signed, keep him in your top 4, and start trimming the fat. I don't think, Jeff Jackson, who's probably going to take over the decision-making duties here in the next little bit. I don't think Ken Holland's coming back. But we can speculate on that with Frank. Maybe Liam will get to it, when the actual show starts in 4 hours from now. It's going to be a trim the fat summer. And I think it's a put yourself into a position where you can load up again at the deadline. Don't go into LTIR space. Not that I think they will. I wouldn't deal a lot of draft picks this offseason. I would buy out Campbell. If there's a trade that makes sense for Darnell Nurse, if there's a trade that makes sense for Evander Kane, I pull the trigger on it. I'd probably pull the trigger on an Evander Kane deal. Cody Cece's probably got to go. I think we've seen the last of him in an Oilers jersey. And again, Broberg's emergence. What I'm getting at here is I think over the next week we'll see them trim the fat and get rid of some of those contracts, maybe leave themselves with a little bit of wiggle room heading into next year. I think any additions are more likely to come via free agency than they are through trades, if I had to guess right now. I'm bashing who's going to make these trades, Tyler. If you're asking like GM wise, who's going to make them, I think it'll be Jeff Jackson making them. If you're asking who their trade partners are going to be, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I think there are hockey men out there who are going to value Cody Cece. I think they'll be able to just dump him off for nothing. I think the other important thing, Smurfy out, Cece, McLeod, Campbell, Kane, Ryan. Yeah, I don't hate that list. I think they'll keep Ryan McLeod around. I think they value what he brings in a bottom six role, and he's not paid to do really much more than be in a bottom six role. Oh yeah, Bastion. Oh, like who's going to be the GM? Yeah, I think it'll be Jeff Jackson. I think he's had his fingerprints on the ads they made even this season. So yeah, um, yeah, I think they'll bring back Connor Brown for those asking. Wise Kyle, keep Jack. Oh, good Lord, no. Jack Campbell might never play another NHL hockey game again. And we're done with that conversation now. Joel, Cloud was super soft. He needs to go. So again, there are guys who, and I think this is a conversation with no right answer right now. There are guys who get you to the playoffs, and there's guys who win for you in the playoffs. And I definitely think McLeod is more the former than the latter. But um I don't know if I'm in a rush to trade him. And, it's been a couple playoff runs now, so it's not like really the full-on Eberle thing. Because that was an overreaction to one bad playoff run, and Eberle turned out to be, a great playoff performer in his career. And it sucks that they let him go when they did for what they did. I just don't want to see them trade Ryan McLeod for like a second round pick. I think that's dumb, right? Um, I think Ryan McLeod's a really damn good regular season player. When we saw that at times, right? I think he's a good defensive third line center, and behind Connor and Leon, there is really nothing wrong with that. And yeah, McDowell says it well. Like, he wasn't terrible. We just wanted more. I agree. Like, again, it's Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, and he had no interest in playing with any sort of physicality. That's annoying. That's frustrating. He also wasn't alone in that regard. I do think the Oilers last night ran out of emotional juice. I think the climb back was so difficult from being down 0-3 that last night Florida got the first goal. They had the crowd behind them, and they were hammering the Oilers physically with their speed. Like, that start from Florida was their best start of the series, in my opinion. And the Oilers didn't have a lot of pushback. Part of that is because they have guys who it's not in their nature to push back, a la Ryan McLeod, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and names of that sort. But part of it too is I just think they were spent, man. Epiphany. Leon had 0 shots on goal. 0. But he probably had, again, we'll find out about Leon in the next couple of days. He had 3, 4, 5 shot attempts. He was all over the ice. I'm not looking at the shots on goal narrative all too hard here. Brad Bay on McLeod, and this is summed up really well. Don't trade him to trade him. If it makes sense, that's when you pull the trigger. And that's what I was getting at. Like, I'm not trading Ryan McLeod for a second round pick. I'm trading Ryan McLeod if I can find an upgrade on him in some way, if you kind of know what I'm saying. I don't think they would trade him for a defenseman because I don't think they need to. Like, I honestly think next year, you can go into next year with Eck, Bush, Nurse, Broberg, Kulak, Vinny, and that can be your 6. And it can honestly be this. It could be cheaper because you could sign Vinny for less than you trade away, or than less than Cece's making. So I think that can honestly be your 6th come into next year. And then your forward group, like, there are a lot of names locked in, which is why, again, I think this summer is going to be more about maybe positioning themselves for the deadline so they can maneuver and make some moves then than it will be for, I don't think they're going to trade their first round pick in next year's draft at the draft in free agency in the early stages of summer or anything like that. So it's gonna be a busy week here, but yeah, I don't think anything earth shattering will come out of Edmonton unless they really surprise us in free agency. Yeah, some frustration with Kane. Should have been on LTIR in January. Listen, I think there are people in the organization frustrated with Kane. McDowell, hope Vinny signs for under 2. Otherwise, I don't think you can justify 4.75 on the bottom pair. Probably not. I think that's a good point. But is it easier to justify 4.75 on the bottom pair when you have Broberg at like 1.25 probably on your second pair? Like, can you sit there and look at the right side of your blue line being Bush, Broberg, Vinny, and it only costs you 2, 3.5, 7-ish million bucks or whatever it comes out to. I don't ask me to do math right now. I'm tired. The left side of your blue line's expensive as hell, but the right side's cheap. Like, is that enough balance there? I don't know. Yeah, they do have a second round pick. They're probably going to use it. I think you need to add one prospect to your pool every year. I'm not a fan of, burning the boats and trading all 4 of your first 4 round picks. All right, I do got to wrap this thing up here in a second, but it is nice to see a bunch of you hop in. Very, very good. I'm happy we did this. It was nice, I should say, to talk to everyone and work through some feelings, start turning the page on this thing a little bit. Liam's going to go live at noon today. He should have Frank with him. I'm sure he'll have like Zach or Cam riding shotgun with him as well. McDoust, I appreciate that in the comments. It was an unbelievable run. I'm not going to get sentimental about it yet. I'll save that. That'll come for another day, probably a day next week. But this was a lot of fun, man. This was a lot of fun. They got as close as you can get, and we should look back at that in a very positive fashion. Is how I'll wrap this up. That was a great run. That was a really, really great run. And I think as Oilers fans, yeah, let me end with that. As Oilers fans, McDoust, who's killing it in the comments, great comments. He says, keep your heads up high. As a fan base, and again, you can go read my piece over on the site. I kind of talked about this. As a fan base, you guys put Edmonton kind of back on the map. Edmonton is the hockey market in the NHL, and we've all known that, right? We've all had a big love for each other and whatever, but this run showed the rest of the hockey world that, like, when you talk hockey markets, you start with Edmonton. And you listen to other fan bases, Dallas and Florida, namely, talk about their great experiences with Oilers fans, how much they love Oilers fans and the respect they had. Like, that's because of the passion that you guys have on a nightly basis, whether it's online, whether it's in Edmonton, whether it's on the road, like I saw yesterday with everyone outside the bars in Florida. You guys were just as special as the team was this spring. And it's as simple as that. I loved it. I loved every single minute of being on this run with you guys. And yeah, they lost, but would not trade it for the world. So hold your heads up high. You should be really damn proud to be Oilers fans. You should be really damn proud to be Edmontonians, because this was a fucking awesome spring, and we're gonna do it all again next year. I gotta go because I gotta catch a flight. Catching a flight to Vegas to cover the draft now, so not home time yet for me. But Liam will be back at noon with the regularly scheduled programming. Appreciate you all popping in here for a nice little morning therapy session. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Try to distract yourself. And I guess that's it. I guess that's how I'll wrap this thing up. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for watching Oilers Nation every day. Hit the subscribe button to never miss a show. And for more, visit Oilersnation.com.